Hello, everyone. My name is Alejandra Segura. I am a sixth grade math teacher and a graduate student in educational administration. Today, I'd like to talk about and discuss one of the most important but often overlooked parts of school leadership, which is the planning and operations. This topic is covered in Chapter 6 in the book Breakthrough Principles by Desravines, Aquino, and Fenton, which I will be drawing insights from. In this video, I'd like to summarize the big takeaways and explain how these operational systems can truly impact student learning and teacher success. So many times we usually hear about the instructional side of leadership or about the school culture being the heart and mind of the school. But if we think of the school as a human body, which was described in Chapter 6, planning and operations are the skeleton. They quietly support everything else and hold the entire structure together. Without them, everything else collapses. Schools might have the best strategies, but without effective operational systems, like if time isn't managed well, if budgets aren't aligned to the school's priorities, if the facilities are maintained well, then student learning can be effective. These systems structure learning time and determine how resources are allocated. This chapter really brings to attention the message that strong organizational structures like time management, school goal setting, budgeting, facilities, and partnerships are necessary. They are essential to student achievement and school wide improvement. The book states that schools with strong organizational management see better test scores and greater satisfaction among teachers and families. So essentially, if the logistics aren't good, even the best instruction won't reach its fullest capacities. Chapter 6 organizes operational leadership into four key levers, which are goal setting and action planning, time management, budget and resources, and community and district relations. In the next few minutes, I'm going to break each one of these down. The first big idea in Chapter 6 is that everything starts with clear goals. Goal setting isn't just about creating a list of the hopes and dreams that you wish to accomplish in the school, but it's about identifying those clear strategic priorities and building those action plans and monitoring their progress. Strong, effective principles create both long term and short term plans with specific measurable goals that guide every decision made. They must analyze student and school data, collaboratively plan with stakeholders, and monitor the progress throughout the year in order to refine their goals and plans. When principals do not do this, do not set those clear goals, or when goals aren't shared throughout the school community, then everyone tends to work towards different things and in different directions. A very important part of goal setting is adjusting as you go. Therefore, as leaders, it is important to constantly check in and monitor and ask yourself if the strategies you have implemented are working, if the school is moving towards the goals, and if not, then what changes need to be made in order for it to work better for your school. This reflective type of leadership is necessary to ensure that the time, money, and staff energy isn't wasted and instead used towards the potential and improvements of the school. The second major focus in Chapter 6 is time. Time is one of the most valuable things a school has, but it's often used by habit rather than purpose. As the quote seen in Chapter 6 by Stephen Covey, don't prioritize what's on your schedule. Schedule your priorities. This means that principals must design those master schedules and calendars and ensure they are aligned with the goals of the schools. They need to make sure there is time for the most important things, such as instruction, collaboration, intervention, and family engagement. A well built master schedule can make a huge difference. It should include time for teacher collaboration, intervention blocks for students, and a planning time that aligns with the school's strategic goals. A principal must review how time is spent, refine those master schedules using student data, and fully align all the school activities with instructional goals. Furthermore, it is so important for principals to also reflect on how they're spending their own time, such as asking themselves how much time they are spending in the classrooms. Are they always handling discipline? or other non instructional tasks that can be delegated. Chapter 6 emphasizes that where a principal spends time sends a message about what matters most. Effective principals observe instruction daily, protect time for collaboration, and create consistent systems for all staff to follow. The next focus is on budgeting. The budget isn't only about money, it's about aligning the resources with what the school needs the most. The authors in the books share examples where principals had to make tough choices like shifting staff, cutting unnecessary costs, or turning down large grants that didn't support the school's long term goals. One example that stood out to me was the principal at Sullivan High School, who chose not to accept a multi-dollar grant because it wasn't sustainable. Instead, he focused on long-term planning, realigning staffing and resources to better support the needs of the students. This type of decision making takes courage, and it is what allows a school to grow sustainably and responsibly. Similar, Haley Elementary restructured their budget by reducing copy machine costs and investing in technology and interventionists, which resulted in strong academic gains and long term sustainability. Furthermore, the budget is also about external partnerships. As leaders, we must monitor these relationships. We need to ask ourselves if the community programs we're working with are aligned to the school's goals. Are they helping our students be successful? Because if not, then we need to either replace, remove, or reframe them. When external partnerships are aligned with our goals, they can bring in valuable programs, funding, and support for our school and students to improve and be successful. Additionally, facilities are so important. Planning and operations also includes managing the school building. As mentioned by the book, a clean, orderly environment signals respect and high expectations. It can also make a huge difference in how students and staff feel. It shows that leadership cares and expects excellence. Chapter 6 describes how Sharon Griffin at Airways Middle School used facility improvements like cleaning up a neglected building, repainting classrooms, and involving students and staff in the process to set a new tone for the school, resulting in better morale and student achievement. Principals should always think about how spaces are being used or should be used. For example, should classes be grouped by grade level or by subject to support collaboration? Is there a space for small groups or tutoring to happen? Etc. Overall, the setup of the school should always support instruction. Lastly, the next focus of operations is community with families, community partners, and the district. Schools are not alone. They have relationships with both the district and the community. Effective principals don't just react to any concerns or feedback. They have a plan for sharing those important messages, involving stakeholders, and keeping stakeholders in the know. This type of leadership helps build trust and keeps everyone aligned with the goals of the school. Also, leaders know how to work with their district, not against it. For example, when PS 230's principal realized that district mandated curriculum changes would overwhelm her staff, she was able to negotiate a phased rollout that better aligned with her school's needs and capacity. This is a great example of strategic leadership with proactive communication that strengthens relationships and protects instructional quality and student learning. This all is so important to know because when planning and operations are done successfully, then they can directly support instruction and student achievement. The information found in this chapter is clear with how schools with strong operations see better test scores, higher teacher satisfaction, and more engaged families. But even more, they have a sense of order, calm, and purpose. As a future administrator, it is so important to see how small changes in operations, like creating a clear staff calendar, can reduce stress and improve focus. These systems are what allow everything else in the school to be successful and improve. Overall, Chapter 6 of Breakthrough Principles reminds us that great school leadership isn't only about vision or focusing on what happens in the classroom. It's about what we do to manage the planning and operations also. Planning and operations may not always be the first thing we think about, but they are vital for everything else in the school. When time, people, money, and space are aligned with the school's goals, then change and improvement is possible. As leaders, it's our responsibility to ensure those systems are strong, data driven, strategic, and centered around school student learning. Thank you.